Millions of people visit the Tower of London every year. They buy tickets, take photos with the guards, and marvel at the crown jewels. Today, it feels like a lively, harmless slice of history right in the middle of a modern city. But for hundreds of years, hearing that you were headed to the tower was enough to induce absolute panic. When those heavy gates slammed shut, many prisoners wondered if they would ever see the sun again. The strangest part of its history is that this massive stone complex was never designed to hold prisoners. So how did a fortress meant to protect a newly crowned king evolve into a psychological weapon used against his rivals? To understand that shift, we have to look closely at the building itself. Absolute power relies on armies and weapons, sure, but it also maintains control through architecture. After the Norman conquest of England in the 11th century, William the Conqueror had a problem. He was a new king in a massive, hostile city. He needed to instantly assert dominance over London. His solution was the White Tower. Think of it as a giant stone billboard broadcasting his invincibility. Everything about it was designed to intimidate. He built impossibly high stone walls, stationed armed guards at every gate, and intentionally isolated the fortress from the daily life of the city. The building's original job was not to punish individual criminals. It was built to terrify an entire population into submission. Over time, kings realized something practical. The architecture that keeps an army out works the same way to keep a person in. From the central keep, you'd have to breach locked doors, bypass guards, and navigate outer walls. Escape was mathematically impossible. Because of that extreme security, the tower was reserved for high-value targets: nobles, rival royals, and political enemies too dangerous for a standard jail. The crown now had a secure, heavily guarded space where they could quietly isolate anyone who threatened the state. This system reached its peak during the Tudor era. This was a time defined by dangerous politics, intense religious conflict, and deep royal paranoia. For these high-profile captives, life in the tower was bizarre. Take Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. She originally entered the tower as a celebrated queen, but later returned as an accused prisoner. Many of these royal prisoners lived in luxury. They might have a comfortable bed, warm meals, and even personal servants to wait on them, but they had zero control over their own fate. Imagine sitting in a quiet stone room for weeks on end. You have no idea if the next footstep echoing in the hallway is bringing an order for your release, an interrogator, or an executioner. The true punishment of the tower usually happened long before the execution block. The building broke people mentally by forcing them into a total, paralyzing surrender to the monarch. Most people picture the tower as a busy execution site, but in reality, executions were loud, public events that mostly happened outside the walls on Tower Hill. Dying privately inside the tower was a chilling privilege, reserved only for the ultra-powerful. The most unsettling example of this silent treatment occurred in 1483 with two young royal heirs who became known as the princes in the tower. These children were placed inside the walls for their supposed safety, and then they simply vanished. There was no public trial, there was no official execution order, there were zero answers, just absolute silence. The ability to swallow royal children whole without a trace proved that no rank or family name offered protection within these walls. That reputation continued into the 20th century. During the Second World War, the crown used the tower to hold its greatest geopolitical threats, including Rudolf Hess, Adolf Hitler's deputy. For almost 1,000 years, London grew from a medieval city into an industrial capital of bridges and skyscrapers, yet the tower remained silent and unchanged, even as the world around it moved into a new century. The tower's history shows how architecture built for defense can be repurposed for disposal. Walls designed to keep armies out proved just as effective at burying rivals inside. If you want to uncover more stories hidden in the dark corners of British history, subscribe to the channel. The next one is waiting for you.